Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That is Eric up there.
Hello.
That is Vanessa up there.
Hello.
Hey guys, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, all. Yay.
This is going to be a fun show because this is our best of show, and we are literally recording it on the first day of 2024. We're living in the future already. You guys will not be surprised to know that I had a little to drink last night.
What?
No.
Yeah.
This is shocking information.
Yeah, so I might be moving a little slow today, but we'll see how it works.
Oh, Kelly.
I'm also
I did not
excited.
have anything to drink, so I hope that you enjoyed enough for both of us.
You're not allowed to have anything to drink, Vanessa.
I know.
That's right.
So what are we looking at here? A couple of weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks in the countdown until I'm supposed to give birth, but they don't, these things.
Yeah.
The numbers are very squiggly as you get closer. They're like, that was really an estimate. I know we've been telling you for 9 months that it's definitely this date, but actually that's like a 5% chance you'll actually go into labor on that day. So good luck.
You've been telling us about all the good times you've been having.
Oh,
as
yeah.
well.
So, oh gosh, and I don't want to get into like TMI territory. I know a lot of people get really wigged out by this entire process and anything involving a female body part, but it's pretty rough the last couple of weeks. There's a lot that happens physically that is no good. I will say I am currently not able to walk very well. Definitely not very quickly without shooting pains up the right-hand side of my body. So that's fun. And yeah, that's just one. That's a tip of the iceberg. There's just so many things.
That's so lovely for someone who used to jog constantly.
Oh my God, 3 miles a day.
Oh,
I
wow.
miss it so bad. Oh, I miss it. Yeah. It's I cannot wait to get back to being able to literally move at the speed of other human beings around me. That will be really fun.
What about do you guys do any kind of resolutions or goals or anything for a new year?
Not specifically, although I did have a moment a few days ago where I was like looking at all the varieties of little projects I'm working on and all that other shit and going, I'm so damn disorganized. This is why I'm getting nothing done. So I've spent the last 3 days, and probably is going to be at least another day, organizing everything into a new productivity system that hopefully will help me accomplish some of these goddamn things that I've been working on so long. So that's been fun, actually, because it's like, okay, this is interesting, but I don't think I'd call it a resolution. But
I think that's awesome. I think I have sort of the similar, no official resolutions, but just the vague hope of spending my downtime updating my show reel, updating my website, which I started to do a little bit yesterday, and just hopefully writing more this year. But I'm not going to put I'm not writing it down. I'm not putting it on a little piece of paper to burn next year. I'm just, hopefully I'll do it. That'll be plenty. What about you, Kelly?
Well, yeah, I don't buy into the resolution thing because I think it's really easy to just ignore those about 2 weeks into the year. But last year I set a bunch of goals that I wrote down, which was, finishing a novel, various other things. And I was able to cross things off and kind of feel a little bit better about my life and my progress. And so this year I did the same thing. And turns out I have a lot of stuff I'm planning on finishing this year. So keep me busy and unable to think about how the world has gone to shit all around us.
Don't think about the world. That's hot tip. Hot tip number 1 for 2024. put head in sand. Go deeper.
I did manage to see some movies though this week. I do want to actually kind of reach out to the listeners right now too and say and ask them to chime in on how they feel this remote recording is going and everything. It seems like we're still kind of getting our sea legs on this, and I'd like to know if anybody has any advice or other thoughts on how we can do that. I guess the big one that I saw that we should probably talk about, I imagine you guys saw Rebel Moon.
I did not.
I did not.
Neither of you. Well, I won't say that you have to rush out to see this.
That's what I heard.
Sounded real bad.
It's not real bad. It is shockingly boring for something that looks so amazing. It's just like, wow, this is a really cool looking movie. It's not nearly as bad as everyone is telling you it is, but it's a snooze fest.
I hear it takes place in the same universe as like the zombie world that he sets things in.
Oh, I did not hear that.
Oh, okay. Take it back, scratch it from the record.
It's set so far, it's set in a universe far, far away. I don't know. There was no talk of zombies or anything like that, and the planets there all around all have twin suns and twin moons and things like that. So it doesn't feel like it's an Earth future at all.
So it is fairly derivative of a well-known property.
I mean, at one point, this fighter pulls out a sword that lights up, a laser sword, basically, I guess is what you would call it. I can't think of another name. And I don't know. I really, really wanted to like it. I thought that, this is fun. It's basically, Seven Samurai or The Magnificent Seven. It's basically that story, which Star Wars kind of mined, or at least Marvel Comics kind of mined with their Star Wars comics way back when they continued the series. So it lends itself well to this kind of idea, but it's just a snooze fest. I was kind of bummed.
Yeah. Aren't they releasing a longer version?
Yeah, he says that there's a R-rated film version of this that's going to be completely different. And I'm like, I don't know how the story could be completely different.
Anyway.
Rebel Moon for anyone who wants to see that.
Excellent. Well, I don't know if you guys had any interest in, inclination in, or have seen yet Aquaman 2: The Lost Kingdom.
No.
You know me and my superhero movies over the last years, so it's definitely disappeared.
Yeah, I will say I went and saw this yesterday. I don't have a lot of ability to do much of anything lately, so I was able to get to another seating spot and sit in it. That was very exciting.
Good.
It's god awful.
Wow.
It is just truly god awful. I mean, you can tell that there were reshoots. You can tell there were rewrites. You can definitely tell that there was a point in which Amanda Heard's character was a much larger role. And then they cut her entirely out. And then they put her sprinkled back in. There's definitely like weird stuff going on with that character. Sometimes you're not sure if she's like a main character or not. And Aquaman is not really the main character either. So, but if you want to see a lot of Patrick Wilson, behold.
I do like me some Patrick Wilson.
Patrick Wilson is really fun in this film. It's hard to say why anyone is there doing what they're doing and what their motivation is on any level. But that's okay. That's all right. The crab guy shows back up. I was really stoked about that. That was probably my favorite part, is the Crab King coming back for like 3 lines. It's like, yes, the Crab King.
Why do you think that this isn't getting all of the vitriol and hate thrown at it that, say, the Marvels was?
I don't know. Maybe because people know that this is the last dying breath of the Snyder franchise for DC. Like, what is there to complain about? Like, they're not gonna. There's big change coming. This is the
Right.
last Aquaman movie with Jason Momoa. So
DC movie is not good. Okay.
this is crazy.
Sad enough.
Crazy. I
Right.
don't know what it's doing budget wise, so I'm not sure there, but I am sure it will be an epic failure.
It is considered a massive flop right now.
Excellent. Yes. Makes sense. Tracks.
Well, Dean and I have diverged into a completely different thing that was a huge, giant thing a few years ago, and it's still frigging awesome. Formula One: Drive to Survive on Netflix. It's
I'm not
about
familiar.
the Formula One circuit and the drama that is part of that particular world. And it's nice because it's 10 episodes, about half an hour to 40 minutes each. Season is one series of the F1 racing. Dina's enjoying it a lot. She's like, well, they have one in Vegas. I like Vegas. Maybe it sounds like, so she's really enjoying it too. So it's really good.
Are you guys gonna like become Formula One goers? Are you gonna go to Vegas and participate?
Could be. That's one of the reasons she wanted to watch it, was because that's where her immediate supervisor went last year, was down in Vegas for the Formula Ones, and she said it was just ridiculously fun.
Well, I know our buddy Carlos is listening to this and saying, hey, about time you got on the train. What else am I going to talk about? I guess I'll talk about it before we get too far away from it. I watched the movie Thanksgiving, Eli Roth's horror flick.
Oh God, was it actually like worth it?
Look, I might say it's his best film. That's low praise, but I thought it was very watchable, very entertaining.
Nice.
It was exactly what it should be. Very little more, but nothing less. And I started watching going, I'll hold off on this one to watch with Dina when Patrick Dempsey, McDreamy from Grey's Anatomy, opened the door. And he's the lead sheriff. So I was like, and she enjoyed it too. So it's a standard slasher.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that you're like, well, okay, we're running out of holidays and we don't have a solid Thanksgiving horror film yet, and so now we do. I guess we needed it.
Nice. Well, yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out, because I think right now the only Thanksgiving horror film that I have lined up is that one with the turkey that comes alive.
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving 1 and 3.
Oh. This is better.
There is no 2. I can only hope. So I don't believe I've talked to you guys about this. Another movie that I got to check out, The Boy and the Heron.
Oh, yeah.
I've not heard of this one.
Latest. Yeah, it's the latest Miyazaki. He keeps retiring and then not. So they kind of let him do whatever he wants. And I think that this film is the ultimate evidence of that. It's actually done really well in theaters. It was like the #1 for, I don't know if it's last weekend or the weekend before, but for a foreign animated film, it's pretty shocking. I made the choice of seeing it subbed and not dubbed. And I might have made a mistake, because I know that they have incredible actors who did the American dubbed version.
Right.
So that may have helped. I will say that this film also makes very little sense. Even as a giant metaphor, which I'm sure everyone is going to be yelling at me right now. It's a metaphor. Yeah, for fucking what? Yeah, okay, I get it. I do. I get whatever they have laid out before us, but it still doesn't make any dang sense. Like there's just so many issues throughout. But I have read a compelling article saying that it's actually an allegory for his career, and that almost makes more sense, but is so much more difficult to penetrate as far as a viewer who's just watching it. It is beautiful though. It's a beautiful, beautiful film. It's gorgeous. It's just, it makes so little sense. But it also, I will say, it is kind of fun because it's set in that period of time when Japan is just at the end, the dying breath of World War II. So some of that stuff that we heard from Horrible History is kind of laced in there.
Nice. Remind me what that's called again?
The Boy and the Heron.
I thought you said The Boy in the Harem, and I was like, really? Animated?
Very different movie. I'm a little congested, so don't be afraid to ask me to clarify.
Well, I did one of the Oscar bait movies, because there's also on a lot of horror lists. Entirely certain why, but Saltburn.
Yeah, is that actually a horror film?
Really?
Oh God.
No. I mean, it's got some disturbing stuff and some really uncomfortable stuff to watch in parts of it, but it's fairly standard. Guy with no money. It gets next to close to a ridiculously wealthy guy and his family, and the lies and manipulations that go on with that. It was well done. The acting and the look were astounding. The directing was really good. There are a few scenes that were like, holy shit. But in the end, it's kind of like, yeah, this is a version of a story I've seen a lot. But this one it's done well. So your Great Gatsby is one of your favorites.
I see that's on Netflix, right?
I believe, yeah, I think that is where I watched it.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I seem to remember, like, yeah, I don't have to rent it, so I'll just watch it.
Yeah, we're definitely getting into that time of year where it's all Oscar baity content, and I feel like suddenly there's 20 films I somehow completely missed seeing. And it's like, oh God, what are these? What do I have to go see? What now? Oh.
For your consideration, Aquaman 2.
Yes. I have seen those for Godzilla a lot. So
yeah, I mean, what a time to be alive.
Yes. It's an excellent movie.
Yeah. Okay, guys, how about we take a little break, and then when we come up, we're going to be talking about our top 5 films of the year and other stuff, I hope.
Kyllä klassikon tunnistaa.
And we have returned. Hey, guys. This year is, this episode is like we always do at the end of the year. We talk about our favorite movies, but also take a moment to kind of look through what happened in other media, I suppose, through the year. And I'll start it. I thought it was a pretty good year for television, and I think if we had television on our top 5, we'd probably all have Fall of the House of Usher on there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, definitely.
Easily.
That was my top one until I changed my list on just movies.
Yeah, I figured it probably would be. I'll go as far as to say this is his masterpiece. This is certainly the thing I like best that he's done. And by him, I mean the guy whose name I can't quite remember.
Mike Flanagan?
Flanagan.
Thank you.
And the only way I remember is because of the Flaniverse. So that will always stick with me. But yeah, it's my second favorite of all the things he's done, but still it's just so absolutely incredible. There's just no denying it. Yeah. And I agree with you. I think that I have a lot of really strong picks for TV this year for things that just blew me away. And for film, it was a little bit harder. So it's going to be interesting to go over this.
Well, what else did you see in TV that you liked, Vanessa?
Oh, man. Well, this was the year that we saw Silo as well.
So good.
That just such incredible science fiction. I'm so glad Eric recommended it because that just enraptured me and I super fell in love with it. Also, The Last of Us.
For sure, The Last of Us, yeah.
I mean, that's just incredible TV. And then Blue Eye Samurai, I thought was just stunning and so delicately crafted. I kind of wish it didn't have a season 2 because it could have been a little bit better, stronger if it just wrapped up. But it's just, I mean, I feel like streaming television has barged through the doors, has burned down the barn, has taken over, that space for any middle version of film. That whole landscape, I think, is now just great streaming television.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Eric, you have anything television-wise that you wanted to talk about?
Here's a weird one. Television-wise, I'll do television first. 30 Coins. Season 2 of 30 Coins was just insane. It was absolutely an insane series.
Oh, I just thought I thought it was very uneven, but the moments when it was great, it was really, really great.
Yeah.
There were other things, though, that just had me scratching my head going, oh, come on, guys. Nobody's going to act like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Paul Giamatti. What? I mean, he's great. He's actually one of the better parts, but I was still like, anyone else who speaks English in there, I'm like, you gotta cast better, guys. Come on.
I like the review I read of it where a guy said, yeah, Paul Giamatti finally got to play his Bond villain. Like, yeah, that's not far off, but still enjoyed it a lot and loved how it unabashedly dove into Lovecraftian ideas and intertwined them with Christianity and Catholicism. And it's like, holy shit.
Yeah, that was fun. I really liked Gen V. I think in a world where we're all suffering superhero fatigue, this one stood out as the way to do it if you're going to do it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
One thing we haven't talked a lot about, and Vanessa, I need to get your opinion on this. I am finding Monarch to be a fucking slog, man. It is slow and boring.
It's painful. It's actually gotten painful. I like every time we go back in time to Russell Wyatt's universe. But anytime we're in present, I'm like, I hate these people. They're so crap. I just don't want to live here anymore. And anytime a monster shows up, that's fun. But like, no, it's gotten pretty rough. Like I get a little sad whenever it comes out. But on the flip side, Reacher, every time there's a new Reacher episode, I'm like, yes, come on, Reacher.
I got a couple other ones that I really liked. I really liked Bodies, and I liked how it wrapped up.
It is my next series to start watching. I'm actually in the middle of Blue-Eyed Samurai, watching Bodies here very soon.
I guess I got to put that Blue-Eyed Samurai on my list.
You've got to. I think you'll love it. But yeah, Bodies, I think I am either at the end or maybe only have an episode or 2 left. And it's been pretty phenomenal. Now I have a question. Was Peacemaker this year or was that last year?
I think that was last year, but...
God, time. COVID time. It's all blending together. But Beef was a shock of a series. A24 just diving into television, and it's very stressful, but some of the best acting I've seen.
Yeah. Yeah. I loved that too. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I ended up loving it and rooting for both of them.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, I need to see that one too. Yeah, Peacemaker was last year, or was 2022.
Okay. Well, it was good too.
I think we all liked, for the most part, Hijack. Can't get enough of Idris Elba.
Yeah. Wish the ending had altered a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a little strange tack-on ending, but the rest was really good.
Yeah, I feel like Apple TV really owned / pawned this whole year. Like they are making some of the best content out there, and even the stuff that's not as strong is still very good. Changeling, even though I do not recommend any pregnant person on planet Earth to watch it, please don't. Please don't watch Changeling. Please do not. It was still really a phenomenal swing into just weird, crazy shit.
I don't think you've spoken about this at all. I'm not familiar with this. Changeling.
Yeah. So it's based on the concept of the Irish folklore of a baby being changed out for, the fairies taking a real baby away, and you're left with this kind of strange demony creature. And it's been used a couple of times in films recently as an allegory for postpartum depression. And this rides that line between, are we in a fantasy world, or are we watching this lady
Go insane.
do unspeakable things to this child?
Alrighty.
So yeah, and it's interesting because you're diving between a few different characters and this potential fantasy universe that exists, and you're just not sure what it's really about, because they're not sure what it's really about. It's going to have a second season, I'm pretty sure. And it's, again, great acting, visually very powerful, goes some weird fucking places, but really tough to watch if you're harboring a human being inside of your body. So
Alrighty.
I don't know if there's any more television, but I've got one last one. I thought it was the best animated show I saw this year, and that was Scavenger's Reign on HBO Max.
Oh,
did not end up seeing it.
Yeah, that was really good. That was really, really good. Strange story. I mean, like the plot line and stuff, but who cares? That was just so fascinating to watch.
Yeah, just really solid world building, literally.
Yes. Yeah.
Any other TV guys?
No, I'm sure there
on
is.
my list.
Well, I know we do. Well, we are nerds of all sorts. I'm still reading comic books.
Cool.
And I'm still loving Deceased. Are you guys reading Deceased at all? Which is the DC zombie thing. It's really good.
I read the first first release of it or something like that, then completely forgot about it. I need to go back because it was really good.
It's I mean the anti-life equation has now hit the new gods, and so they're basically fighting these zombie gods now, and it's great. I'm really loving Deceased.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a pretty fun year for a lot of different comics for me. I've gotten very absorbed into the world of Tom King, and we saw the conclusion this year of Human Target, as well as he started diving into Love Everlasting, both of which are just really fun. Human Target taking a spin on the DC story of Human Target, but putting it into almost a James Bond style 12 days to live. But this man is going to spend it drinking his martinis and figuring out who done him wrong. Love Everlasting is a woman who's trapped in a romance serialization and keeps waking up halfway through them and being like, oh my God, why am I here? What's going on? Like, what is this madness? And I would also love to give a shout out to the new Star Trek comic reboot, which has Cisco in the lead and is really good.
Wow.
Like Star Trek comics that are good are rare and far and few between. So when a good one comes along, like the Mirror Universe, it's like, yes, this is pretty worthy. So,
Oh, that's cool. You know, who's publishing that one?
oh, that one, gosh, I think it's a weird. Who is it? I can't remember. I'm not entirely sure. Might be IDW. I could look. I could tell you after.
See it right back there?
I could put it in the notes. IDW. It looks like it's IDW on my Star Trek shelf. So.
Vanessa, you gave me for my birthday the trade edition of Human Target, and I finally got around to reading it while I had this week off, and I was like, holy cow, this is not at all what I thought this comic was about.
Yeah.
So I loved it.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm so glad. I'm glad you liked it. I didn't terribly misjudge your sense of comics.
On my years of reading, I think probably Ron will be one of the few people on our listening list that'll appreciate most of my reading this year. I read a bunch of these books by this guy, all of them, like 3 or 4 of them, like 600 pages long, about like the details insane. It's like, oh, in this day, he went into, it's written better than this, but he went into the studio and worked on these songs, and this person joined him on the drums, and on this, but it's written as a story. It's not written as a list like that. I really enjoyed it, but I'm not going to recommend a whole lot of people go out and read 1,800 pages of Prince stuff. That's my own damn problem. So that was a large portion of what I read on and off all year long.
That's a
Well, I
commitment.
did. Yeah, no kidding. As everybody knows, I had one specific novel taking over my entire life this year, and it was my own. But I gotta say that Philip Fricassi's Boy in the Valley is getting all sorts of accolades, and they are so well deserved. It is. It's really scary, and if you haven't read it, it's like a cross between The Exorcist and Lord of the Flies. And it is really a great book. Boys in the Valley by Philip Fricassi is definitely something I recommend to anyone who likes scary horror novels. Any other media? Vanessa, did you want to talk about some video games or anything that you loved this year? No?
I'm still painfully struggling my way through Baldur's Gate. I think I am now like 80 hours in, maybe 90. I'm still maybe a third of the way through this game. So,
Holy cow.
yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's very few really good 2-player experiences in gaming that I've found. There's little things here and there that show up, but being able to play with a person, couch co-op style, there's not a lot. So I went ahead and really committed myself to this stupid thing. And there are times that it's been good, and there are times that it's been very bad. And there's been a lot of learning how to save and go to previous saves and make alternative decisions happening, because it's a huge world, and every conversation you have, could lead to a relationship. You can have sex with people that you're about to like go to war with. You can have sex with a bear. That's exciting.
Oh.
Yeah, it's bonkers. Or like, you can end up in a huge fight with pretty much anybody in the entire game. So it's just interesting. It's been an interesting experience, and it's been a good way to waste some time. So,
all right. I had a weird one outside the norms of what we talked about. YouTube has a company that does their plays musically online, put the whole things on, run usually a little over 2 hours. Nerdy Prudes Must Die. It's really freaking good. This whole weird storyline of a bunch of nerds, and they start to interact, and their bully is really nasty to them, and they decide they're going to kill him. And he comes back, and then he starts, the whole nerdy prudes must die is his thing. Good songs, good acting, funny, strange.
This is a web series?
No, it's a YouTube, like a Broadway, not a Broadway, it's Chicago, but stage performance. It's a multiple camera video recording of a stage performance in front of a live audience.
Whoa. Okay. Huh.
And it's a
Weird.
musical.
Yes. Most definitely.
Nerdy prudes must die. I'll watch that.
Introduced to me by my nephew. So he's like, you guys got to watch this. I'm coming over. We're watching it together. I'm like, okay.
This is the great thing about having family members or people in your life that are alternative ages and can introduce you to like the weirdest shit. Like that is the best.
Yeah.
Well, before we jump into our top 5, then, do we want to talk about films that didn't make our top 5?
Sure. Yeah. Although I feel like it's a little bit risky because some of the ones that didn't make mine might have made yours.
Oh,
as
you know
far
what?
as actual items.
If we have them on the list, we can just hold off till we get to that place where we've got them on the list.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to throw one out and we'll tell you if you can talk about it, Vanessa?
Sure. I'll go with something. Well, one that just barely did not make my list. Pope's Exorcist.
Oh, right. I forgot about the Pope's Exorcist.
I forgot until late last night, and I was just like, this is such a fucking fun film.
It really is.
It's just so stupidly good it should not be. It should not be watchable. It has like such a terrible title, but it was just so much fun. Now, if you ask me what happened in it, I don't know that I could remember enough to tell you. It's very much a popcorn movie, but I enjoyed the shit out of that movie.
I hate that title so much because I went into that thinking, I mean, what do you think when you hear the Pope's Exorcist? I was like, the Exorcist is possessed, or the Pope is possessed.
Or the Pope is possessed. Yeah.
That's what I meant. Yeah. And so I was a little disappointed by that, but Russell Crowe is having such a good time. I'm like, I can't wait for part 2.
Or 3 or 99, because there are how many of them he has to go and do? So...
One that's a late entry, not quite top 10, but again, this is like coming at Ron puts up those recommendations every once in a while. We watched a few, and there's one called Little Bone Lodge that is pretty good. It's kind of a home invasion sort of, just well done. Well worth checking out. It's one of the rising qualities of Tubi originals.
Huh. Well, they had to start buying some stuff that would bring people to the platform. Yeah. I got one I bet is not on anybody's list. Sisu, the World War II flick.
Sure. Yeah.
I still haven't seen it.
I really loved it. Done by the same people who do Rare Exports. Fantastic, gory, violent World War II.
A lot of people put some serious love towards Sisu. I also have one that probably isn't on anyone's list, which was one of the films I talked about seeing at Fantastic Fest. Falling Stars was still really, really good. It's also a huge mess, so I couldn't justify having it on my top 5, but I loved the universe they built where these boys are out there trying to on like a witch night in fall and should be staying home, and instead they go to dig up a dead witch body, and things happen. So
I can't wait for this to come to streaming.
Yeah, I think you'll really enjoy it. It is a little, there are moments where you're like, could we move into another room, please? Or could somebody stop explaining this thing? Because it is super low budget. So you're spending a lot of time in a car or in a room or in a field. But I think what they do with the amount of money they have, which is probably like $100, is really good. So
another one here, Tetris.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah. So good.
That was so surprisingly good.
And that was an Apple Plus movie, right?
That's right. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. They seem to be producing a lot of the best stuff on streaming, but nobody seems to watch it or talk about it much.
Yeah.
Very strange.
For sure. It's true. And the thing is, luckily for those of us who are enjoying the snap, crackle, and pop out of Apple, I don't think they're going to stop or go away anytime soon, because they are the number one, number two most profitable company on planet Earth. So they're doing fine. They can throw some money at these shows. But it's a real joy, and it is hard when I want to talk to somebody else about any of the things I'm watching, and I'm like, oh my God, have you seen this like weird thing that I checked? Nope. Oh, okay.
Also on my list was, and I don't think it's made anyone's top 5, Last Voyage of the Demeter.
It didn't make my top 5, but it was a strong film. I think it had a few flaws in there, but very cool. Had a lot of cool shit they were doing.
Great creature design, and I remember you not loving the ending that they tacked onto there.
No, it's very stupid. It's very, very stupid, but that's okay.
I was totally fine with it.
You know what? You being a bigger fan of it, of that whole thing than me, I'm gonna go with your default assessment of it. You win. Even if it didn't work for me, that's okay.
They don't always, you know.
Sure. I'm not always going to concede, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And I think a lot of the other stuff I worry will be on your guys' lists. So I don't know.
Are we just dive into the top 10 then? Or top 5?
I can certainly do that. Who wants to start this out? And of course, we'll do the thing that we usually do, which is if somebody lists a movie and it's lower on either somebody else's list, we will wait to talk about it until we get to the lowest number on it. Does that make sense?
The highest. Yeah.
My number 5, Evil Dead Rise.
Also
not
my
on
number
my list.
5.
Oh, Eric, let's talk about it then. Directed by Lee Cronin. The 5th film entry in the franchise. I think it really goes hard. I thought it was very scary.
Of all of the never-ending franchises from the 80s, I think it's one of the ones that's been consistently putting out stuff that's worth watching. Film to film, far superior than most sequels of those giant franchises. And I think this is a great example of taking it and kind of doing the same sort of story, but putting it in a setting that leads towards more possibilities for the future films.
Yeah, I don't think there is a bad Evil Dead movie. You know, I didn't like the remake, but I didn't think it was a bad movie, the 2013 movie.
Yeah, there's no Jason Takes Manhattan in the Evil Dead franchise.
Yet.
Right. Yet.
I mean, I personally hated this film, so you guys are definitely on the opposite end of me. But I can also say that for those who like that entire franchise, I can see it's a strong film. I entirely accept that it is my personal taste that leads to me disliking this film. So
I thought that you ended up.
Oh my God. Jesus.
I thought that you ended up kind of liking this one, Vanessa.
No, I hated it.
Okay.
I saw the original for the first time, and I kind of like that. So that was really good.
Fine. Well, what was your number 5 then, Vanessa? Because we got 2 of them handled already.
Oh, yeah, it's true. Mine was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Wow.
No, didn't make my list.
Oh, okay. Great. Yeah. Like I said, it's been a little bit of a tough year for me for films, for things that really felt like it hit deep or hard. So some of mine are a little bit more middle of the road populist. That might be how I stand out from you guys this year. But of course, this is directed by James Gunn. It's the final chapter in the Guardians, the film franchise. It's a mess. There are huge, messy swaths within it, but I think when it hits it right, it hits it so right. and the way that it handles some of those characters' final entries, potentially like Rocket or Gamora. I think that it did a very, very good job, and just a huge fan of kind of how they decided to close that out. I'm also very, very glad that James Gunn got to come back and finish it out. So
Cool.
Yeah, I love the movie. I guess I almost kind of forgot about it, to be honest. But what a tearjerker too. Every scene with
yeah.
Rocket as a baby raccoon being abused was like, oh man, this is a hard movie.
Oh, it was so rough. And it's such a strong advocate for animal care and anti-animal cruelty. My God, like you wouldn't expect that that's what that movie is going to really focus on. And the villain, they just go all the way. They're like, we're just going to make a super unredeemable character. You're not going to want him to survive. You're not going to want him to, have any success whatsoever. And they just commit to that in a way that I think really worked. Such a good actor as well. I can't remember the name of that guy, but he did a wonderful job.
Well, I had an alternative number 5 I was going back and forth with, but I bet it's going to be higher on your list, so I'll just mention it. Godzilla, -1.
Higher.
Okay. All right. So what was your number 4
not,
then?
Not on my list, but yeah, Kelly.
Not on your list at all, Vanessa?
It was good. It was good, but it wasn't like, it didn't emotionally change me. I didn't change as a person for seeing it.
Wow.
Interesting. We'll hear what your next 4 movies are.
I'm going to guess nobody's got this on their list. But my number 4, I really, really loved this movie. It was Dark Harvest.
Sure. Yeah. I thought about it.
Yeah.
I thought about it.
Yeah. That was good.
Yeah, directed by David Slade, and just a wonderfully weird little Halloween flick. It's nice to get a new Halloween flick, and I feel like we got 2 or 3 of them this year that, kind of circle the holiday. And I loved the weird alternate universe feel of this, where the whole town just goes on the hunt of this creature, which is just magnificently designed, kind of a pumpkin head with pants kind of character. And they get to win the chance to leave the town, even though nobody knows what life outside the town might be like. It's so weird, and it really just stuck with me. I was like, boy, I wish I could write something like this.
It's I think part of the appeal was it's very Stephen King-esque. Had a strong Stephen King style of story he might write.
Do you think so? I feel like he always puts things in the real world, and this definitely did not feel like the real world to me. This felt very much like a Ray Bradbury story to me.
Stephen King does a lot of kids in small towns kind of thing, so I think there's a melding there of both styles. But yeah, Ray Bradbury's much more warped, as we learned this last October.
Right.
Yeah, Kelly, I think that you're right. Like that, the universe building in that film is phenomenal, and it's so strange and it's so cool. I think the reason it didn't quite hit my top 5 was there were a couple of loosey-goosey things in there that I was like, this doesn't, I'm not sure why this is happening, or I'm not sure kind of why we're sitting here with this character when we should be over here. And the use of time in it was really confusing. I was like, wait, do we have 2 minutes or not? I don't know anymore. How under the gun are we?
Yeah,
but,
sure. I mean, it's not a perfect film.
Universe. No, but I can totally see why it being your top 5. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Dark Harvest. Okay.
Well, I think my number 4 will not be on your guys' list. But it's also a Halloween movie, but it didn't come out at Halloween. We Have a Ghost.
It did not make my list.
It makes me think of something else, but that was a TV show. So what was this one?
This is a film on Netflix starring Dave Harbour. It's written and directed by Christopher Landon. Happy Death Day to you, and Freaky. It's based on a 2017 short story, Ernest, by Geoff Manock, which was published on Vice.com. Legendary Pictures won an auction for it and the screen rights. I know the budget was $51 million, and it's Netflix, so I have no idea how it did, but it's a really sweet story of a family moving into this, large new haunted house that, of course, you normally get this sort of the family versus the ghost thing that you might see in something like Haunted Mansion. But in this, the boy is the son in this story has a really rocky relationship with his father. And so he actually kind of creates a father figure out of this ghost who's played by Dave Harbour, who cannot speak, and ends up having an adventure to try and figure out the mystery behind this ghost's death. All the while, his father is making all sorts of really terrible decisions on how to raise his kids and is really putting social media and his business ahead of his family. So there was just something really sweet and charming and wonderful about it that stuck to my ribs that I just really liked it.
Yeah, that was a good one. I enjoyed that.
We have a ghost. I still have not seen it.
It's next Halloween. I would maybe wait until Halloween time, but yeah.
Speaking of Halloween time, my number 4 was Talk to Me.
Of course.
I've got it lower.
Cool. All right. Well, what's your number 3 then?
Well, I guess we can talk about this together, Eric, because Godzilla -1 is my number 3.
Oh, there you go.
Directed by Takashi Yamazaki. I think that the strength of this movie is not the giant lizard destroying the city, but the discussion of the way Japan dehumanized the human part of its military and treated them just like it treated their equipment, which was, disposable. And I don't know that I'd ever seen anything like that in a Japanese film before. I imagine that they have probably had discussions like this in the Japanese culture, but for them to put that in a monster movie and then send it to the U.S., I thought was really, really kind of a stunning move. And the movie is great on top of that.
The scene when he comes back and his neighbor reacts to the fact that he's still alive because of what he was supposed to do is just like, wow, that's rough. That's really, really rough. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was, like you said, so much more than a monster movie. Although I did love some of the things they did with Godzilla, with the spine up the back, like he's loading his weapon. Take all the weirdness of the Godzilla movies of the past and make it into a good movie. And, Godzilla fans lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was definitely some really special, interesting things they were doing in there. I love the ideas of like, oh, we've got to use these crappy wooden fishing boats to go after this enormous creature because of the way that metal is being interacted with. And there's some really, really clever, wonderful things in that film. I definitely enjoyed the crap out of it, but didn't change me as a person. So.
But We Have a Ghost did.
It sure did. Sure did. I regret everything.
All right, Vanessa, that's you again.
Yeah. So my number 3, I'm going to guess is not on your guys' list either. Again, I'm the populist here. Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves.
It did not make my list.
I just, in the COVID era, I just feel like sometimes you just need something just good, like well-written, good storytelling that's not heavy and insanely dramatic. This didn't blow away box office. It cost $150 million and brought in 208. Directed by John Francis Daly, we might remember as Lance Sweets from Bones. He was also a kid star in Freaks and Geeks. And he wrote Spider-Man Homecoming as well as Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. So weirdly talented guy. it's just very, very true to the D&D universe, which again, I'm not a fantasy person. I don't know what's up with this year. I'm spending so much time doing Baldur's Gate. I did like a Magic the Gathering trailer this year. I'm like, this is just a weirdly fantasy oriented year for me. But I love how they were just such huge fans of the franchise, and they're using monsters from the game. They're using places from the game. They're even making nods towards the old Dungeons and Dragons cartoon series. That
was fun.
They took so much care and love with this, to the point where Ed Greenwood, who is the creator of the Forgotten Realms section of D&D, even though he wasn't given credit, wasn't partaking in this film, said that fans could be proud of it. It was such a faithful adaptation, and he went out and saw it multiple times. So I don't know. There's something about it when you take a franchise and you don't do Transformers, where you actually care about it and you actually set it in the universe and you actually don't make fun of it. Instead, you're making fun within it as those characters. I mean, yeah, I just had such a good time watching it.
I wonder what's up with me that I completely forgot about this movie also, that it didn't make my also rans, because I really enjoyed this. I was surprised at how good this movie was.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
There's a lot of good movies this year. So I think that's part of the problem. Not a lot of great, but a lot of good.
Yes.
But for me, my number 3, I think Dan's the one who's going to love this one. They Cloned Tyrone.
Oh, sure.
Not on my list.
So surprisingly good.
It was surprisingly good, yeah.
Yeah, with directed by Joel Taylor, this is technically his second film, but the first one looked like it was very simple. I haven't seen it yet, so it could be fantastic. But for a second film, this is ridiculously well done. John Boyega proving that he should have been allowed to do a shitload more in the Star Wars movies. Jamie Foxx, he is so funny in this and so well done. And then Tiana Paris, who the trio of them just make this movie work so well. And it's so bizarre. It's just sci-fi and horror and bad government things and weird people going after people for weird reasons. And it's just a lot of fun.
I don't know if I've ever seen a movie that shifted gears so hard
Yes.
midway. And I was like, what film is this now? What genre are we in?
Yep.
And you're so right about John Boyega. Thank you, Boyega. I honestly did not know it was him until you mentioned it on the show. Like I had no clue. He was so different and so he's a great actor.
That was my number 3.
I got to put this back on my list. I had it on the list, and then I think a bunch of things got pushed in front of it, and I've completely forgotten about this movie too.
There's a Netflix one too, I believe. At least when I watched it,
right.
was.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, Eric, then my number 2 is Talk to Me.
Nice.
So
Talk to me.
Directed by
Tell
Danny
us
and
about
Philippe. I thought this movie was really, really scary.
Great setups, great delivery, a really simple concept. But when you execute it that well, so what? It's so good.
Oh my God. 100%. Yeah, this was one of those that just barely didn't quite make my list. And I think it's because it was so good, it upset me. Like when I think about it, I don't know if I can watch it again, at least not like for a year or two, because it's so distressing and upsetting. It's just incredible. It's a great movie.
In film school, Eric, I don't know if you remember John Jacobson telling us that. So, I mean, writing an ending for a film is hard. Writing a good ending, right? And his rule was it should be something that nobody sees coming but makes absolute sense. And I was always like, oh, okay, that sounds easy. But this film has that kind of ending.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just, and good on A24 for finally distributing a good fast-paced horror flick.
So my number two, you guys might have it or might not. I don't know. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Did not make my list.
Really? Oh my God.
I was so angry with that cliffhanger.
I know that almost knocked it completely out for me too, because I was also extremely angry, but I was also angry because it was so good and I was having such a good time. So I didn't want to fully discount it. It was beautiful. This is, gosh, I have so many fun facts about this. This was a budget of 100 to 150 million, box office of 690.5 million. They actually use 6 different animation styles for each universe that they go between. It's largest crew of any animated movie ever, with around 1,000 people working on it. They added 240 characters for this one. Just beautiful movie. It was hard to imagine that they could do better than the first. And I think that the first one is maybe a film I like more just because it was so shocking and exciting at the time. But they did such a good job to continue the pace and the excitement and the style, and it doesn't get worse. It doesn't. You can't be like, oh, the sequel's not as good as the original. Like the sequel, they know what their responsibility is, and they did their homework. So
It was an amazing film, no doubt about that. Do we know, does the third part come out this year?
oh, that is such a good question. I do not know when the next Spider-Man Across Spider-Verse situation comes out.
Eric, you really got to give this movie a watch. This one
I
should
do.
be on your list.
I really want to see this one. And so, anything else going on while she looks that up? Shall I just
Not anything really. Originally slated March 29th, 2024. That's no longer the case.
Okay.
Possibly summer. So
Okay, well, sometime this year would be good.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling, unlike Vanessa's list, that Kelly and I are going to intercede again. And I'm guessing I might have your number one pick. Would you like to say what your number one pick is, just so we can?
Well,
see
if you say it, then you can. Then I will talk with you about it because you'll just skip to mine. Yes, it is my number one pick.
Oh, you guys. It is not on my list, but I am excited. I'm so glad you have it on yours.
This does not surprise me. It's not on your list based on what you were saying. You wanted on your list this year.
Yeah, it's brutal.
This is not a feel good movie at all. Directed by Demian Rugna,
with kids involved.
Yeah,
right.
Another surprise moment for the pregnant lady. Thank you. We love it.
I don't think anyone's surprised that this is my number one pick. It's the only movie I watched twice this year.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, it's that weird thing that I've fallen in love with, which is that alternate universe that's just like ours, except for one thing that everybody seems to know about, and that is, possession and demons is a thing, and they have set rules on how to deal with it. And of course, these two brothers fuck everything up and start the end of the world, it feels like.
Yeah.
I just thought it was I was sucked in hard on this movie.
I started off not liking it because the decisions they were making were all so stupid. Then I realized, oh, that's the point. They're being a little more human than most people are in movies. They're all covering their own asses a little more than really trying to solve the problem, which makes the movie so much better. That's great. That is so smart. And the brutality, the dog scene and the walking by the car scene were both like, holy shit. I can't believe they did that.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
That dog scene is something else. Vanessa, you don't look happy with me.
No, I'm so glad you have it. I'm so glad you have it on your list. But I just was replaying the moment with the mother walking past in my head.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was so well
God.
done because you really saw what was going on, but you didn't. You know what I mean? It was kind of a fast thing. And afterwards you're going, was that? Holy shit.
Yeah. So good. And I'm really glad that, I don't know. I'm so excited. I got introduced to that filmmaker this year and saw both that and
Terrified.
Thank you, Terrified. Yeah, both two incredibly fantastic films.
Yeah. But were they your number one? No.
No, it was not. Look, okay, I'm going through some stuff.
Yeah, understandable.
I need happiness in my life.
Yep.
So, I mean, you guys have to know what my number one film is.
I'm kind of, I'm at a loss. I don't know what you picked.
X?
I almost made a list of the 5 worst films I've seen this year, and that would have been at the top. Nope. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem.
Of course.
Yeah. I just, it was such a fun surprise for me. Ninja Turtles is one of those really risky franchises where people can really, really, really fuck it up.
Yeah.
Or they can do an unbelievably great job. And I think that they took this in a new direction. They made something beautiful. They made something authentic. They made something that teenagers can really, really relate to. And they were very honoring of a lot of people my age's childhood. A couple of interesting things I found out about it. They wanted the design art in it to look like concept art and things like sketches that kids might make on their school notebooks with this sort of exaggerated looks and exaggerated style. And that's kind of where that came from. They were also really influenced by Chungking Express. Also in China, this film totally bombed. I know. I was like, oh, all right. It did just fine here. Had a budget of 70 million, brought in a box office of 180.5. And its tagline is heroes aren't born, they're mutated. But the story was just so much fun. I think the actors did a great job. I loved the art style in it. And it tugged all of my Ninja Turtles heartstrings. So yeah, it was my favorite film this year.
I feel like an idiot that I couldn't guess that this was your favorite film.
It's okay.
Yep.
Don't worry about it. It's been a weird year, like you said. So.
But you're so much more emphatic and intense when it's something you can't stand.
Yeah. I'm opinionated as fuck. Isn't that why you guys have me on the show?
That's absolutely why.
There you go. All righty. So you might also guess this one, or Kelly might, but my number one was Monore. That's how it's supposed to be pronounced, from the Lovecraft Festival.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, the more I just kept thinking about it, and I will be perfectly honestly admit that this could be screening intensifying, because the screening was so fun. I mean, how many times have you been in a screening with there's 3 rounds of applause when shit happens in the movie? Segments of the movie lead the audience to applaud and laughing like crazy. I don't think it's going to be. I think it'll be more like a Bubba Hotep than it will be like what was Eli Roth's Cabin movie?
Cabin Fever.
Cabin Fever.
Yeah, Cabin Fever. I saw both of those at SIF, and theater experiences were phenomenal for both. One was really good later, and one was not so good without the crowd. I think this is going to lead a little more towards Bubba Hotep, but as far as being a theater experience versus the quality of the film. But I just enjoyed the hell out of it. Just really had a great time. And again, goes back to that where we talked about it on a couple of these movies. I didn't expect it to be that good. So that's it. It's not available. I don't think it's available yet, or it just very recently became available online. But well worth checking out.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed that at the festival. I don't think that's available yet. Before we get to the last of our also rans, we also have a Discovery of the Year. The Discovery of the Year film is a film that, we loved, but is not from this year. Nobody's going to be surprised that mine is History of the Occult from 2020. I made you guys watch it and do an entire episode about it.
I knew it.
And worth it.
And it's that same thing, where it's an alternate, literally a pocket universe in this case.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna rave too much about it since we did an hour and 20 minutes on it at the beginning of the year. History of the Occult.
Yes, absolutely phenomenal. And I'm so I left that off of any of the lists I had to talk about because I wanted to make sure you did it. And when you didn't do it yet so far, I was like, oh my God, he better mention this movie. Fucking shank him. My Discovery pick of this year is actually super recent, which is, I talked about it just a couple of weeks ago. I went to a sort of preview screening at the Cinerama where it was a pick from the sponsors, and I'd never seen this movie before, The Fall from 2006. Made by the guy who did The Cell / Selfless, Tarsem Singh. He kind of disappeared from making films. Kind of went to director's jail back when you could go to director's jail for movies bombing financially rather than for Me Too related incidents. So times have changed, but he's still probably not really getting very many projects, if any. I think he's making one film in India right now, but this particular film, The Fall, is definitely part of that. It cost him $30 million to make, and it brought in 3.7.
Oh no!
So yeah, rough. It is phenomenal though, starring Lee Pace and this totally unknown 6-year-old little girl. Katnaka Ontoru. She is not an actress. She has not gone on to do anything else. She was definitely just a kid they got. It has some of the most beautiful cinematography I've ever seen on film. It reminds you of early Swedish. I'm forgetting his name now, but that Swedish filmmaker who does incredible black and white work.
Ingmar Bergman?
Eric's yes, thank you. Ingmar Bergman. It feels in that vein. It feels like Seventh Seal or Joan of Arc, or it's just so stunning to stare at. It's shot in 28 countries across 4 years. They just go there, they build things. There's not CGI. It is just real and it feels real. And it's kind of a weird story, but like it's just stuck to me since seeing it. And I'm just it just blew me away.
I saw that on TV or something, and what a way to see it. That a phenomenal giant screen, and that is visually just a beautiful, beautiful film. That's really cool.
I lucked out. I really, really lucked out on it.
Well, mine was one I talked about on the show too, called 1966. That was a little far away. Called Seconds.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
John Frankenheimer film, and John Frankenheimer film, and just surreal and weird, and one of Rock Hudson's best performances, because he is not just being the stud, good-looking hero guy. He's going through some shit. Available from Criterion.
Very cool. Yeah, I need to put that on my list.
That's good.
I keep meaning to buy it every time the sale happens, and then I have to buy something else instead.
Sure.
Like a mattress or whatever. So eventually I'm going to see Seconds.
So what I was going to say before the Discovery was, before we get into the last of our also rans, how about we go down our list for the listeners who might have missed something. At number 5, I had Evil Dead Rise. Number 4, Dark Harvest. Number 3, Godzilla -1. Number 2, Talk to Me, and my number one film was When Evil Lurks. Vanessa?
Yeah, my number 5 was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. 4 was We Have a Ghost. 4. 3 was Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. 2 was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and 1 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem.
Did Evil Dead at 5. Talk to Me. 4. They Clone Tyrone. When Evil Lurks, and Minare for my number 1.
Well, it turns out that none of my other also rans, which I only have 3, was on anybody's list. So I will just mention that I thought The Boogeyman was a pretty decent Stephen King adaptation. And there are a bunch of Stephen King adaptations out there. Most of them are bad. I would put this one in the good column. Cobweb, which I thought was really creepy, falls apart under any kind of examination. But while you're watching it, it works. And then I didn't want to leave out Megan Mithrigan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought for PG-13 horror, they did it right.
I think the only one that I had on my list that you didn't mention here, John Wick Chapter 4.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it had some incredible fights. That stairway fight, so good. So good. Great kind of final chapter in the John Wick series, and maybe not as good as 1 and 2 necessarily, but or 3, 1, 2, and 3, but it still had some really excellent pieces, and way to go, Keanu, for keeping in shape.
Yeah, no kidding.
Let's see. A couple mentioned movie called Attachment. These are both Shudder films. This is a Jewish demon movie, and nice little creepy film. Well acted, well put together. Another film, very dark little film called The Passenger, which is a story of a guy who is getting picked on and beat up at his job, and one of his coworkers decides it's over with, so he shoots all of the other coworkers and basically kidnaps this guy, and they go on a little road trip together. And spend the whole movie going, is he going to kill the other guy, or are they going to work out what's going to happen? It's, if you enjoy the 2 leads' performances, you'll like the film. It's got a lot going for it.
Well, okay, it feels weird to do a year-end wrap-up like that and listen to all the stuff and go, oh, yeah, there was a lot of shit going on this year, and we watched a lot of shit, just like every year, but it's weird to kind of encapsulate it.
It is. And I think still with COVID, I know we're post-COVID universe, we are, but time moves in such a strange way still. And it's hard for me to remember what came out this year as well.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, okay, then that brings us to the part where I thank everybody for participating in the Value for Value program and donating money, liking and sharing posts, all the stuff that the listeners do that really helps us get the word out. And I see that, we've got a few more listeners. That's really cool. And I love the interaction we're getting on the Facebook page, which is Facebook, Strange Eons Radio Talk. Right?
Talk.
Guess what I forgot to do? Bring in the note that has the number for the Strange Eons Radio hotline. But you guys have heard me say it a million times before. I'm sure it's on speed dial for everybody.
That's right.
And I will make sure to bring that in before the next episode.
We can include it somewhere on the page too.
There we go. Well, okay, guys. Happy New Year. I can't wait to see what 2024 has in store for us.
Yeah,
any parting words before we take off?
I also just wanted to say thank you. I got a Christmas card this year from a listener. One Danny Williford sent me to Vanessa and husband Williams. Sent me a really, really cool Christmas card. So that was really cool. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. I love our little family, our Strange Eons family. So makes it all feel that much more awesome when we hit up holidays and it's like, yeah.
You like us. Hey, Mikey. Okay, guys, then I am going to go and drink about 6,000 gallons of water, and we'll be
Good
back. Oh, wait a
plan.
second. Wait a second. Vanessa, you've got the next
Right.
I
subgenre pick.
do. I do. And I'm just going to assume that I will be here for it. And that is, I'm going to go with, because we're in winter and we haven't really hit any of the winter topics. Nor in years past, we've done like whole Christmassy things and
Sure.
Thanksgiving-y things. And this has been a little bit less that way. I'm going to go with snow, featuring snow. It's got to have a big snow scene, whether that's an avalanche, whether that's a snowstorm, whether that's a snow, just it's got to have a lot of snow in it. So there better be snow.
I like this
Unlike our
subtopic so
current
much.
planet.
I like this topic
Just
so much
warm.
better than when you said fog that one time. Ugh, fog.
Why? I don't understand how it's different. I can't fathom it in my head.
Because there's a lot of genre films out there with snow in them, so I've got a lot to pick through.
There's a lot of films with fog in it too.
All
You
right.
just have to use your
Well,
imagination.
Let's not live in the past.
Whatever. It's fine.
Love you guys, and I will see you in 7 short days where we are talking about snow. See you next Thursday.
God.
Bye.
Transportation and other considerations for Strange Eons Radio produced by Pan Am Airlines. When you think of traveling, think of Pan Am. You can't beat the experience. Guests of Strange Eons Radio stay at Econo Lodge Everett. It's an easy stop on the road, if you know what we mean. Strange Eons Radio is recorded live in front of a studio audience. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a positive review on your favorite podcast app. Sit, Ubu, sit.
I regret everything.